Behind enemy lines, crossover Thursday, Tennessee, Florida, and why the Volunteers are going to beat the rival Gators. All that and more. It's your Thursday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome into a crossover edition of Locked On Vols and Locked On Gators. I'm Locked On Vols host Eric Cain. He is Locked On Gators host Brandon Olsen. It is Tennessee. It is Florida. It is a rivalry game, and it's a game that means a lot to both fan bases, but it's a game where each team needs a win in the worst way. Over the course of the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you our game picks in segment 3, why Tennessee or Florida is going to win this game, injury situation. We're going to take a look at the quarterbacks, seasons to date, storylines, all that good stuff right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Appreciate you guys making us your first listen, your first watch. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. All right, Brandon, so tell me about Florida's season so far. Obviously, 1-2 is how it started. It's been better since then, 3-2. And as my buddy over at Gators Online, Nick Delatorre, said, Florida just ended its easy part of the schedule that included Miami and Texas A&M. How's the Gators right now entering this week? Huge game, but also knowing what's still to come.
Yeah, it's brutal. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just been a rough season so far. You know, went in there with the expectations of, again, I said that I thought Florida would beat Miami, but the only thing I was pretty certain of was that game would be close. And boy, did things go off the rails. I will say since then, been pretty good with the predictions and all that. But yeah, this team is just, I think that a lot of people had higher expectations for this team, regardless of schedule. We just thought the quality of the product would be better than it's been to this point. And I do think that when you look at the UCF game, I said I think Florida played average in that game, and average was enough to dominate a bad team. Like UCF, they were frauds for the first month of the season. There's no other way to put it. I think that they came out, rolled over, and died against Florida. It was just embarrassing there. I feel like we're 5 games in now for Florida. We've seen 5 games, 6 weeks. And this is still a team that I just have kind of no confidence in some things, and a lot of that just comes down to the coaching staff. I mean, you could talk about, Florida won 24-13 against UCF, a game where UCF was favored by 2.5 points. They also didn't score in the second half against a team that just allowed, 41 to Colorado? Not exactly the best showing that you could have out there.
Yeah, for Tennessee, obviously 4-1, and you'll reach as high as number 4 in the country, and everybody's talking about Nico and Tennessee, and that's great. And Tennessee's not played many home games. You know, you had UTC to begin the season, that was a cupcake. You go on the road at neutral site, and that was supposed to be a massive football game. I never thought it was going to be that big of I thought Tennessee would not win the way it did in a landslide, but I thought Tennessee would handle business pretty well, and it did. You come back home, another cupcake, and then you go on the road. Tennessee at Oklahoma finds a way to win off, and then you go back on the road to Arkansas. So it's been a minute since Tennessee's been at Neyland Stadium, and I think Tennessee needs some home cooking in the worst way, right? Defensively, I think this is a pretty stout unit. Defensive line and front 7, I think they're great. Offensively, I don't know, man. I mean, this is a good running football team, I think. Even in 2 SEC games where it hasn't been easy, they've found a way to have respectable, good running games. Tennessee can't protect Nico right now. Tennessee has an offensive tackle problem. The passing game, which is slow to develop to begin with, you just don't have a chance. So there's clearly another level to this Tennessee offense, but right now, Tennessee's offense doesn't have an identity outside of the run game, and I thought Josh Heupel, just my personal opinion, he's done so good here, and there's a lot of good that he's done, don't get me wrong, but I thought he had the worst coach game since he's been here at Arkansas last week. So Tennessee needs a win in the worst way, and it's certainly not going to be easy against Florida, but I think this team is looking forward to being home at Neyland Stadium.
I have to say, one big thing to push back on there, how dare you call Kent State a cupcake? We respect the MAC around here, okay. and so don't forget, we respect the MAC around here. But yeah, I think Tennessee, it's weird. I feel like this might be the worst passing offense that we've seen from Tennessee. Like even I feel like, I don't know. I think one thing, my theory with why Tennessee is struggling to throw the football consistently and create the big plays that we've seen from Josh Heupel's offenses in the past is that I think this offense is just so unique that you go into it when you're a freshman, you go into it, or if you're coming from the portal, and you have to learn everything from scratch. And I think that when we saw Hendon Hooker 2 years ago be just, amazing in this offense for so much, and we saw Jalen Hyatt and everybody was just going off in that offense, I think part of that was because of the experience of someone like Hendon Hooker. Like he was in college for a long time. I know he wasn't at Tennessee the entirety of the time, but he's in college for such a long time that he was able to come in, pick up the offense and master it essentially. And then Joe Milton couldn't master it. And Nico, just being so young, it's his second year in the system, of course, but just being so young, I think that's what it is. It's just that the offense is so unique. It just takes time. And I think we'll see the offense, I think toward the end of the year. I mean, obviously, I know you guys have Georgia at the end of the year, but I think toward the end of the year, you'll see this offense really put things together and try to pick things up. It's just a matter of, it's so unique that it just takes time to learn. But I do think that this running game is killer for Tennessee. And it's that Bryles spread that we're going to spread you out really wide. And then if you don't respect the run, we are going to have no problem just running the ball nonstop at you. And I think that you see that with Tennessee year in, year out.
Yeah, it's always been a good running team, and I'll talk about Dylan Sampson here in segment 2. For Tennessee fans, you better hope it doesn't take till the end of the season to figure this stuff out, because it needs to be figured out this week. But I think a lot of it, Nico's got to play better, and he's young, as you mentioned. I think a lot of it truly is, Tennessee has an offensive tackle problem right now, and Tennessee's running backs and pass pro last week were abysmal. And I don't think the coaches were making in-game adjustments to help a young quarterback out who didn't stand a chance a lot of the time. That's just my opinion. Want to ask you, we're going to talk about the two quarterbacks from Florida and a little bit more in Nico in segment 2. Want to ask you about the rush defense for Florida, because I see that as just a huge opportunity for Tennessee. Florida responded, played really well against UCF, 108 yards, which is really talented, which is really good, but obviously in games prior, 310 to A&M, 240 to Mississippi State. Why can't Florida defend the run, or why did Florida defend the run well last time out compared to the rest of the games?
I think UCF's offensive line was just horrendous, which, offensive tackle problem at Tennessee could benefit, but also UCF's offensive line in the second half, or UCF's run game in the second half, started picking up a little bit once they started running, more counter, which terrifies me because Tennessee is going to run counter against Florida. And if UCF picked up yards running counter, I get a little scared that Tennessee can do that as well. Florida made some adjustments during the bye week as well to just their personnel who's going to be out there. They most notably, they benched DJ Douglas, who throughout this point in the season at safety has, I think, 15 missed tackles already, and I think nobody else on the team has more than like 6. So it's just been horrendous there. I think that was a big adjustment to make. I think Florida's linebackers are actually genuinely very good. I'm looking forward to how Cam Jackson plays, because when we look at Florida versus Tennessee last year, Florida boxed Tennessee. And it was just a great coached game by Austin Armstrong. This past week against UCF looked more like an Austin Armstrong defense than a Ron Roberts defense. And so I'm hoping that that's going to play a part in it, especially in this game. But Cam Jackson last year was the guy. Like Florida couldn't play defense the way they played defense against Tennessee without Cam Jackson playing the way he played against Tennessee. And so if Cam Jackson can do that again, he's kind of the X factor I look at. I look at a Tennessee team that passing attack probably going to be a little inconsistent. Again, that's just what we've seen so far. So it's what I'm going to expect. And if Cam Jackson can dominate the line of scrimmage the way he did last year, I feel somewhat confident in Florida there.
Question mark teleprompter.
Somewhat, dude. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. We'll continue on here with this crossover edition. We're going to talk Florida quarterbacks, some more about Nico and Dylan Sampson, all that and more when we come back here on a Locked On crossover edition. Locked On Vols meets Locked On Gators. Want to see about our friends over at Game Time. This Game Time app is where you can buy tickets to sporting events in your area, but not just sporting events at Neyland Stadium this Saturday, Tennessee, Florida. It can be at the Food City Center, Thompson Bowling Arena this winter. It can be whatever Florida's basketball arena is called. It can be Lindsey Nelson this spring, whatever. Oh, I should know this. What's Florida's baseball stadium's name?
How dare you?
I should know this. I was just there.
What is it? Condron Ballpark.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. You can buy tickets to all those sporting events and music events, concerts, all that stuff, all that and more. If you download the Game Time app or go to gametime.co. While you got the Game Time app, you can put in the promo code LockedOnCollege. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that promo code is LockedOnCollege. $20 off your first purchase. You can check out the Game Time ticketing coverage, the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, the lowest price guarantee, where they're going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find something cheaper somewhere else in the same section, plus the Game Time picks, all that and more on the Game Time app and at gametime.co. Again, put in that promo code LockedOnCollege, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Welcome back to Locked On Gators and Locked On Vols. I am Brandon Olsen, the host of Locked On Gators. This is Eric Cain, the host of Locked On Vols. And it's weird because you mentioned right before the break, let's talk about Florida's two quarterbacks. Let's talk about Nico and Dylan Sampson. Why didn't you name two quarterbacks for Tennessee? Does every team not run a two quarterback system? It's confusing.
No. In fact, Tennessee fans wanted two quarterbacks last year with Joe Milton and Nico, but if Tennessee's got to play two quarterbacks this year, the sky has fallen. So no, it's not an every team type situation.
You guys are. I think you guys are behind the times. If I'm not mistaken, Florida's being innovative here. But Florida, it's weird. I personally, I would just roll with DJ Lagway and let him take his licks.
Let me jump in here again. Outsider, all that. I don't want to speak for you because I certainly don't watch film and watch every single Florida game. Graham Mertz, since coming over from Wisconsin, I've been on the record. I was completely wrong. I thought he was a mediocre trash quarterback at Wisconsin. When he got to Florida, I was like, what's he going to do? I guess game elevates game when you're around better players. He's been really good at Florida. He's completing passes at a high clip. He 77% this year, which is incredible. I know we missed some time. Is it a situation where, like, Mertz has done fine, but obviously Billy's coaching for his job? I know it's 2-1 for Mertz to Lagway right now, but is it a situation where you just see so much high upside with DJ Lagway? I mean, obviously the 5-star is 240 pounds. I feel like from Gator fans, it's like, well, Mertz hadn't done bad, but, win now mode, you got to go with DJ, I guess.
That's kind of where I'm at, is that I look at Graham, and when Graham came over from Wisconsin, he's exceeded my expectations. And my expectations were he's going to come over, not win you any games, but not lose you any games. Last year at South Carolina, he won you that game against South Carolina on the road. You were down by, it was 10 with like 4 minutes left. You come back, win that game. Was a great win. He was leading the charge to potentially upset Missouri before he broke his collarbone after trucking through two defenders, which is just, I don't think I ever expected to see Graham Mertz do that. But it was something to see for sure. And right now we're looking at this, like you said, 2 drives for Graham, 1 for DJ Lagway. I respect the approach that this coaching staff is taking. I don't agree with it, but I respect it of saying, hey, our veteran quarterback is going to play because he's not playing poorly. I don't think there's a way you can look at Graham, and I understand he's playing dink and dunk football. He's checking it down. He's moving the ball downfield. Or he's moving the team downfield. He's certainly not moving the ball downfield himself. But he's moving the offense. He's keeping them on schedule. That's what he does. And then you bring in DJ Lagway and you go, hey man, just go be a firecracker. Like just go do some stuff. And whatever happens, happens. But I think when you look at how tough, you mentioned the latter half of this schedule is, I feel like I'm just going, hey, DJ Lagway, put him in. And you're probably going to lose a lot of those games anyway. Give you the guy that's the wild card. And that's kind of how I look at that comparison. The 2 drives to 1, I respect the coaching staff saying, hey, we're sticking with this because then it's not dependent on your performance. It's not, oh, I went out there and threw a pick. Is DJ Lagway about to take my job? oh, I went out there and threw a pick. Am I not going to get my one drive after Graham gets two? It's, hey, regardless of the outcome, even if you score, it's 2 drives to 1, which I respect. But again, I kind of look at it and I say, isn't competition supposed to be a good thing?
Yeah.
That's the thing that really throws me off. Of just, Billy Napier said, it's not based on their performance. What the hell are position battles supposed to be based on then, if they're not based on performance? I just don't understand that. I'd roll with DJ Lagway and just say, give me the explosive guy, and we'll take the lumps where we take them.
I want to talk about Nico here in a moment, but on this topic for my audience, does the, Mertz, I mean, he dinked and dunked and killed Tennessee last year. Tennessee played zone. Tennessee tried to keep everything in front of him. Tennessee missed a key tackle there it was just abysmal from Kamal Hadden, who's in the NFL now with the Green Bay Packers. I believe he was on the active roster. Anyway, that can't be Tennessee's game plan this year. They got to play aggressive a little bit. But anyway, we know what Mertz will do. Does the game plan change when DJ comes in, or is he running that offense?
I kind of hate how the game plan changes when DJ comes in. I think they run him when it makes no sense to run him. You look at they drive before halftime against UCF, and they run the ball a couple times. Then they run QB blasts, and then they run a screen with DJ Lagway. And it's like he could throw the ball legitimately 70 yards downfield. Why not give him that opportunity? It seems like they run him at times that makes no sense. And I have no problem with running your quarterback.
Yeah.
But they just run him at weird times. And I feel like one thing that he does really well is just scramble and create plays with his legs. And I do think that as the season goes on and as he gets more comfortable, because I think DJ Lagway physically is ready right now. I think he's physically arm talent wise, mobility, size wise. Like he looks like he's ready to get
pounds.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to get drafted physically. Mm-hmm. But then the mental part is what I think slows him down. Even he had the beautiful ball to Chim DK against UCF. He was staring down DK. He was like, okay, I know I'm going to have this and I'm going to throw it. And he's done that a lot where the mental part still needs to pick up. And I think that that's why the playbook isn't as open as we want it to be. It's different, but not fully open. He doesn't have a full playbook at his disposal right now. And I hope that as we get through the season, we see that open up a bit more as he gets more comfortable just being a quarterback.
For Nico and Tennessee in this offense, I mean, football 101 and what people outside of Knoxville and people that really watch college football, the biggest misconception in college football, I think, is that this is an air raid offense and they just run and shoot and it's like everything's built off the run, just like every other offense in the country. And Tennessee runs the ball very well under Josh Heupel. And they run that play action, they run that RPO and all that. But right now, again, as I said earlier, man, Tennessee's got a tackle problem right now. And Tennessee's right guard did not play well at Arkansas either. They got to protect him. And Tennessee splits, which you even referenced it earlier. You split them all wide and, have all those seams. Tennessee splits long developing pass plays. And Nico's not getting time to get rid of the football. And I think the coaching staff may, because I know that's who you are, but my gripe is like when you're punting like 13 times in the game or whatever, why not try to make some in-game adjustments to help them out a little bit? And so if Tennessee struggles in that regard, I would love to see some underneath stuff. Tennessee does not run underneath stuff. Tennessee does not have an intermediate passing game. It's right at the line of scrimmage or something, or it's 15 to 20 yards down the field. And we've seen some really great throws from Nico this year. In that regard, and Brew McCoy and Squirrel White and Dante Thornton's a guy that has kind of been the big play receiver so far this year, but it looks pretty when he's got some time. He did not have time last week, and that clock's got to get better for him, and he missed on a couple of throws that were critical at Arkansas. He had a really dumb football Joe Milton IQ. I don't know what it is about Tennessee quarterbacks running out of bounds as time expires. I mean, he's going to be so good, but that might have been the worst football play again since Joe Milton's 2021. Same thing.
Oh, man. I was live post-game, watching it on my phone, going live. And as he runs out, I'm pretty sure you could just go back and look at my channel. I'm like, he ran out of bounds?
But again, like no matter what, he's got to throw the football. But again, he was flushed out of the pocket because your left tackle missed a block, and you got 3 receivers on the left, and he's rolling right. It's like, man, nothing is adding up. So, he's going to be fine. I think that he missed a couple. He didn't see a couple things. I mean, Sampson was wide open on the second to last play. He could have walked in the end zone, in my opinion. That's something they need to utilize a little bit more, backs out of the backfield, especially when, as a drop-off, right? I mean, you're missing the blocks anyway when they're staying in pass pro, so why not slip them out and just kind of dump it off? But he's made a couple. I mean, Aaron Murray's a huge fan. He's done a couple, Greg McElroy's done a couple of breakdowns. He's made some throws that are just, you see why all the hype's there from Nico. And he's not been horrible, but certainly he needs a better game this week. So we'll see what happens. Anything that Florida can do defensively to try to confuse or try to make things tough on the young quarterback?
I think one of the things they're going to try to do is similar to last year, how they defended the Nico. 20% of his passes are screens right now at this point, and because that's what this offense is. We're taking deep shots, we're throwing behind the line of scrimmage, we're running the football, and that's kind of it. You mentioned there's no intermediate passing game here, which in college works. Like you can do that, it makes sense. But I think Florida did a really good job last year of just completely taking away the screen, because whenever you'd have a motion or a side that Florida thought the screen was going to, they put a jack linebacker out there on playing corner basically. And it's like, okay, throw the screen and then have a receiver try to block this giant man. I think they try to do that again. And then again, you take away the screen and you go, hey, you have the deep shot and the run. And if Cam Jackson plays the way he played last year, where he kind of dominated the run, then you have the deep shot and that's it. And we saw Tennessee connect on that with, I think it was Brew McCoy last year against true freshman Jakeem Jackson. And that was kind of it. They were clamped a lot. There was also Jason Marshall just got beat on a fade last year. And I remember watching that and just Jason Marshall just whoop and just whiffing on his press. And I think that against Nico, if you can force, because here's the game plan wise, you can game plan that, but you have to actually execute it as we all know. And so if you could take away the screen, that's 20% of his passing attack. If you could take away the run for an offense that, I don't know if anybody here, I don't think I've said this to my listeners either, there isn't a single quarterback in college football right now that has a larger percentage of his passes being play action passes or RPO. Like that combination for Nico is over 60% of his passes. If you can take away the run and you can kind of start disrespecting that play action, take away the screen, you take away a huge portion of this offense. And so I think that that's kind of the plan again. And I think it should be. And again, as long as you can execute it, I think that's one of the reasons that I do have some confidence. But again, this Florida Gators coaching staff worries me. We're going
to get into our picks here in segment number 3. And again, that's play action is so good for Nico and so good for Tennessee, but play action takes some time. And when you have a protection problem, it's difficult. More to come here on this crossover edition. Locked On Vols, Locked On Gators. Eric Cain with Brandon Olsen. Stay tuned. Hey, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook where you can make every moment more this NFL season. You can start off with a big return over at FanDuel Sportsbook. When you're in the middle of a game, you want to check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more. The same page where you can place your bets. You can do that at FanDuel Sportsbook. Get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And since we're going to do the picks for Tennessee, Florida coming up in segment 3, Brandon, I pulled up a team, your favorite team in the NFL, the New York Giants hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Giants are 3.5-point dogs at home this weekend, and that totals at 48.5. So not only can you do college football, you can do NFL, you can do all the sports. What's the play there for your New York Football Giants this weekend?
I am taking the Bengals to win and cover. In fact, I already did take them to win and cover. And I hate you for using the Giants. You couldn't use my Mets. Like you couldn't use my good team, my one good team.
No, I'm still a Braves fan here. Still very salty. I was in New York this summer, and I used to work for the Mets, so I like that organization. But I'm a huge Braves fan, and the Braves forgot how to hit a cutoff man in extra innings, and they lost. In not Shea Stadium in Citi Field. So no, I'm not using the Mets. I got to use the Giants. I got to bring you back down. I got to use the Giants.
That's fair. I respect it.
3.5 is the play there, and Brandon has taken Cincinnati to cover. Do you like the total? You like the over there at 48.5?
I probably won't touch the total just because I don't think the Giants offense will do much. And the Giants are playing without Kayvon Thibodeau, so I think the Bengals could pop off, and they might do most of the work themselves.
So there we go. NFL plays, college football plays, so much more. You can do it all on America's #1 sportsbook. That's over at FanDuel. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. First $5 bet, FanDuel.com, and on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. All right, guys, welcome back into the final segment here, Locked On Vols and Locked On Gators. Eric Cain, Brandon Olsen. It is time for the picks. Brandon Olsen, the Florida Gators will win because, fill in the blank.
I think the Florida Gators will win and I do mean this, I've picked Florida to lose games before. I am picking them to win this week. A couple of reasons. One, I'm 28 years old right now, and the overwhelming majority of my life, I've seen the Florida Gators beat the Tennessee Volunteers, regardless of who the better team is. I think Tennessee has a better team than Florida, but I thought Tennessee had a better team last year, and Florida still won that game pretty handedly. I got completely shut down in the second half and still won handedly. And so for me, I think that something about this game, I genuinely think it gets in Tennessee players' heads. I think that they know, like, say, hey, this is Florida. This is a game that we, for some reason, lose frequently, even when we are the better team. And I think that they get in their heads about that. So I look at that. And then I also it's tough for me where I saw Florida's defense last year, which was horrendous, do very well against this Tennessee offense. I think that, if Tennessee can run the ball effectively, then they're going to win this game. And looking at the eye test of what we saw for Florida against Mississippi State, which is a similar, not identical, but somewhat similar offense, just stylistically of that brow spread. I think you look at that and you say, all right, well, they ran for 240 and they suck at running the football. So if Tennessee can do it better, then they're going to win this game. But again, I feel like Florida shows up for Tennessee. Billy Napier has struggled with the whole intensity aspect of college football coaching since he got here. But this is the one team he could get his team to show up for consistently, them and South Carolina for some reason. I don't get it. But yeah, I'm picking Florida for those reasons. And also, Nico, I need to see it from him at this point.
Even games where Tennessee has it in hand, has a 17-point lead or whatever it is with 5 minutes to go, you do everything you can just to try to hand it over. That's why all week long I'm saying Tennessee wins, Florida covers, just because that's just how this thing goes. I think, and you brought it up, and I haven't mentioned on this show yet, but you just brought it up there. Jeff Lebby, Mississippi State, 240 rushing yards. Not the same exact thing, but it's the same family. It's the same style and all that. And I completely agree. Tennessee's a much better running football team than Mississippi State. And State went for 240 against this Gators defense. Again, Florida responded well last week with UCF, allowing only 108 yards on the ground. But, for as many problems as this Tennessee team is having right now protecting Nico, it's still running the ball pretty well. I mean, it went off and against NC State, it went off. And NC State was playing that 3-man front and Tennessee shredded it. They were dropping 8 and Tennessee just ran all day. Tennessee couldn't do that against Arkansas and Oklahoma for the most part, but it still had a respectable day. Tennessee ran for 151 at Oklahoma. I think it ran for like 170 or 167 against Arkansas. Dylan Sampson continued to get his. Coming back home, where communication will not be a factor for this offensive line, Tennessee can't win some games on the road. I mean, that is an issue for Josh Heupel, and it's been. But you're coming back home, and I just think Tennessee's going to get some home cooking in the worst way, in the best way. So I think Tennessee's going to run the football, and I think that's going to be the story of the game. And I think the offense is going to build off that, and Nico's going to be able to throw the football down the field and kind of have some more of those explosive plays that we've come accustomed to in the Tennessee offense. He's looked really good at times this year. He's looked like a redshirt freshman at times that started 5 games. Just kind of how it is. And DJ Lagway's got those same issues, as Brandon's pointed out. So I think it all starts with a run, and I think that's why Tennessee's going to win this game. So I have Tennessee winning this game over on FanDuel at the time of this recording. You got Tennessee as 15.5-point favorites, and that total is at 56. I think it's 56. Let's see.
Yep, 56.5.
56.5. Give me Tennessee to win this game. Give me Florida to cover. Give me the Vols 35. Give me the Gators 21. What say you?
I will say that as a same game parlay is plus 325 on FanDuel right now. So I will say if you want to do that, you can do that. I think that this will hit the under. I don't think that I think Billy Napier likes the running clock. Like, new rules means that he can kind of shrink the game a bit. I think that, again, I'm putting blind faith here in Florida defensively. That is what I'm doing. I think that Florida, again, has taken some strides. I look at last year and I look at what these teams did, and I think that this is a better Florida team than they were last year, especially defensively. I think that Tennessee is also a pretty wild cardy offense right now.
Same coordinator defensively? Sorry.
They added Ron Roberts, and he took over play calling duties. I feel like Austin Armstrong's taking more of a hand of that right now. Okay. After the first month of the season, this defense against UCF felt more Austin Armstrong than Ron Roberts. And so I think that Austin Armstrong's taking control more of this defense, and it's thriving because of that. And I think I also look at this pass rush you mentioned, the tackle problem that Tennessee has. And I look at this as Florida's pass rush hasn't been great. They were good against UCF, but again, I think their line is just horrendous. We're watching the movable object versus the resistible force here in the trenches for Florida defensively. I'm taking Florida to win this game. I'm going to say 24-21. I don't think this is going to be a blowout at all. I think it's going to be a messy game probably. And I think running the football is going to be king here. So I'm going to say 24-21. Florida is going to pull off the upset.
And it's wild too. I mean, you have Florida fans that are probably listening, and I'm just dogging, the Tennessee tackles. And John Campbell's a 7th-year guy. He's playing hurt. Lance Hurd missed the last month, barely did anything in fall camp, so he is not physically in shape. And I think Lance Hurd's going to be really good, but he's not really good right now, and he needs to play better against Florida. So we'll see what happens. Out the door, what would a win mean for Florida? I'll tell you, a win for Tennessee would be huge. It's a win over a rival. It's a win in a series that has been dominated the other way. As you pointed out, and I've said many times this week, a series where Tennessee often has the better team, can't find a way to win. So it'd be emotionally from that aspect to be huge. Tennessee just needs a win because you're coming off a loss, right? And Tennessee's very much still in the college football playoff conversation, very much in it. So you win this game, sets you up for a showdown against Bama the next week. You also need to get this fan base, just pumped up again, because it has been a long week, as you know very well how that can go. So a win for Tennessee would obviously keep the college football playoff hopes alive. Win over a rival would be huge and give you some momentum, feeling good before hosting Alabama, which should be a huge game the next week. What would a win mean for Florida and this little middle ground before you start that huge stretch there to end the season?
Yeah, can I make the suggestion that Josh Heupel actually play chess, not checkers, and throw this game and hope that it leads to Billy Napier not getting fired, and then he gets Billy for just multiple years now? I'm just saying chess, not checkers.
Just think about it.
Yeah, Josh seems like a nice guy, seems like a smart guy. He's one of the very few coaches that I've met, and he was very nice when I met him. So if he wants to play chess, not checkers, he can do that one. But I think that for Florida, a win here, I think Billy Napier could win back a portion of the fan base by winning a game like this. We Florida fans, we look at that UCF game as their little brother. They may be a Power 4 program now, but they're still little brother. And I think I respect them more than most Florida fans do, but they're still little brother. And Tennessee, again, I think a lot of Florida Gators fans look at Tennessee as hey, we should win this game. That should be the expectation when Florida plays Tennessee.
Like Tennessee views Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't care about the talent. Florida should beat Tennessee because historically, Florida has done that for a long time now. And that's the expectation that we set. I think that you could win back some of the fan base here. Personally, I'm out. When I'm out, I'm out. And it's as simple as that. I cashed out my bet there with Billy Napier, but I think that you can win back a good portion of the fan base, win another SEC game, then you go into this backstretch. If you can go on a 3-game winning streak if you're Florida right now, because you have Mississippi State, you have UCF, and then you beat Tennessee, you're looking at a 3-game winning streak all against Power 4 programs, which Billy Napier hasn't done. He hasn't done that. So if you can do that, I think you can kind of start to sell, especially to some recruits, hey, we can actually get this done. It's a hell of a tough back of the schedule, but we need to win 2 games here and the rest of it, and we'll be bowl eligible. And I think that might, unfortunately, be enough for Billy to stick around if he can pull that off. So I think for Florida, it's actually huge, despite how much the fan base looks at it as just you should win this game. I think that there's levels to it. And for Florida, and especially Billy Napier, a win here is immeasurable.
Huge weekend coming up. Huge game between Tennessee and Florida. Again, there's clearly, in my eyes, a better football team. But in this series, that doesn't always mean a victory. So should be interesting nonetheless. For continual coverage leading up to kickoff to learn more about your foe. Gators fans, come on, pull up a seat. We'll hang out. Come on over to Locked On Vols. Tennessee fans, if you want to learn more about Florida leading up to kickoff, go listen to Brandon over on Locked On Gators. Make each other's show your second listen, then Locked On SEC, then Locked On College, then whatever other Locked On show you want to. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Hey, Brandon, appreciate it, man. Look forward to the text messages on Saturday night. Maybe they'll be different this year. Maybe I can, be bragging about Tennessee winning, or maybe it'll be some of the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I was more respectful this time, and I kind of regret doing that.
You were very respectful.
I should have been rude. I remember last year we did the crossover with Gordy, and that was our crossover. And you were talking, and I went like, man, I faked crying. And after Florida beat Tennessee, one of your listeners sent me that video of me fake crying. And he was like, I was going to send this to you if Tennessee won, but they didn't. And I was just like, see, I should have brought it up. If you're still watching, guy, screw you. How about that? That's
no. If you're still watching and listening, hopefully you didn't delete it, and you can use it on Saturday night.
I have it saved. I'm good with it. I have it saved now. It's mine.
It's always fun, man. Appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for listening to us. This has been Locked On Vols and Locked On Gators.